Good afternoon, folks. This is Paul Bailey, the Director of Technology Infrastructure at CAQH, and welcome to our second office hours session discussing the migration of the ProView platform to our new home in Azure. Hopefully you're all online, you can see the screen. I'm going to walk through just a few slides rather briskly, I hope, and hopefully you can see that in the web conference, and then we'll open the floor to questions, and you'll be able to ask questions either by typing in the chat window, the question window, or by raising your hand, and we will attempt to unmute you, and you can actually have a verbal dialogue if you would like. But we'll get into that a little bit more here in a moment. Sort of recapping what we've communicated previously to you via mailings through our communications department. All the CAQH ProView, Direct Assure, and Sanction Tracks platforms are going to be migrating from our current sort of legacy colo data center environment to a Microsoft Azure platform. CAQH portals, API interfaces, and SFTP servers are all going to acquire new IP addresses in this change. We are going to be utilizing the same host names and URLs for our production site, so hopefully nothing will change there. But if you have any configurations on your interfaces to us that use hard-coded IP references, you're going to need to update those on those interfaces. As we mentioned here in the sub-bullet, DNS names remain the same for the production environment. And if you have been using any hard-coded IP addresses, we recommend that you change to using those host names. If you're currently using host names, the only thing you need to worry about is the possibility that if your network constrains access, your data center network constrains access outbound to the internet, that you may need to make some changes to your firewall or network configuration to allow access to those new IP addresses. Our production host names and URLs remain as they're cited there, https ://proview.caqh.org, and the SFTP server is at sftp.proview.caqh.org. I have to claim a mea culpa that we did change the names in our demo environment when we migrated that last weekend, and an oversight communication failed to communicate that clearly at all to folks. We kind of had it in passing in the office hours discussion here, but it had not been communicated in the mailings we had sent. We've changed the DNS names for our demo environment and all of our non-production environments to put them into a non-prod subdomain. So as you can see on your screen here, the demo environment, in addition to now landing on new IP addresses, has new host names, ProView/demo.nonprod.caqh.org and SFTP-demo.nonprod.caqh.org. It's important to note that one of the primary reasons for changing that domain name was to issue new SSL certificates and segregate the SSL certificates we use in our non-production environment from those we use in our prod environment. We've interacted with at least one customer who was tripped up because they had the legacy, let's call it universal wildcard cert in their demo environment, and we're having problems connecting yesterday to the demo environment, and we believe we isolated that to the fact that they had the old SSL certificate cached in their development system. So that's something to look out for. Our whole reason for that is to create greater segregation between our non-production production environments, and we're doing that in many different ways, including segmenting the network, etc. I'll reiterate here, if your network restricts outbound access, a lot of secure data center networks do not allow ubiquitous connectivity outbound to anywhere on the internet, but only to explicit networks or host addresses. You will need to get your firewall policies updated to enable connections to those new IP address ranges that are cited here. I would counsel you to configure your networks so that your production systems are able to interface with both the production and disaster recovery networks that are cited here, and your non-production systems or networks should be configured to access the demo training network subnet that's listed there. The CAQH email relay that's used to transmit workflow emails that we send from the ProView application, we were planning to migrate that relaying to use SendGrid, which, if you're not familiar with them, they are an enterprise class mail relaying service. We have decided to postpone that change to a later date so that it's not happening concurrent with this migration. We feel there's more work to be done to test that and manage that transition in a smooth manner. So that's been pulled out of scope of this project. So, okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Key dates. We did complete the cutover of the demo environment this past weekend. It went very smoothly, notwithstanding my failure to explicitly communicate the change of domain names for the URLs. But it's gone very smoothly. All of our testing indicates the site's live, functional, and performing at an equal or better level than our legacy environment. We've had at least a few clients have reported in that they've been able to connect to it. Have at least one client we're working at resolving an SSL connection problem, but that seems to have been resolved. The next key date is the last wave of this project and our cutover of the production system, which is going to occur on the weekend of June 14th through 16th. We have previously been communicating the 15th through the 16th, but as our timelines have gelled here, we've opted to initiate the cutover process to Friday the 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The thought process was that giving folks adequate communication to know that they need to get whatever they need out of the system, out of it before the close of business Eastern Time on Friday, get whatever they need to put into it well prior to that, and that it would be advantageous to everyone for us to get started a little bit earlier and get started at 5 on Friday. Providers and practice managers are going to be advised via messaging on our portal starting this week to complete any updates or attestations, the input of any new data into the system by Thursday evening. And that's just sort of, again, out of an abundance of caution. The portal is going to be available, and there will probably be some folks trying to jam that deadline on Friday morning, but we're trying to counsel them to be done by Thursday night so that the platform has fully ingested all their data and things have gone completely quiescent from an input perspective by Friday. We will deliver extracts and roster files to the paying organizations, to our customers, through Thursday morning. We are going to encourage the business operations folks in your organizations to pull down their last delivered return roster and last extract file that they're going to want prior to 5 p.m. on Friday. So you're going to want to initiate any downloads sufficiently well in advance so that that you're completed pulling any files by the time we take the system down on Friday at 5 p.m. If you're familiar with the rhythm of our business processes and our data processing, typically we start extraction processes around 9 p.m. Eastern Time most nights, and those batch processes run in the background and typically start producing outputs anywhere from midnight through the following morning. We will be shutting off those processes prior to Friday night. They will not run Friday night. So the notion is you pull your last data file like you normally would on a Friday morning or during the business day. We are, out of an abundance of caution, urging you to be sure to pull your last delivered return roster and your last extract file on Friday, and then we'll take the system down at 5. We'll be performing the upgrades starting immediately at that point in time. We're performing extensive testing throughout the day on Saturday, and we are reserving Sunday as our buffer time in case anything goes a little sideways on us and requires extra remediation or testing time, or testing and remediation time. We are planning to have the platform back online Sunday night at 9 p.m., and our intent is to have run extracts by that point in time so that weekend extracts would be available. Although I'm going to ask you to stay tuned for further specifics about the generation of the data extract files for the weekend. The notion is that the platform will be returned to business so that on Monday morning you would start consuming data from the system again and would probably be able to acquire extracts for the entire weekend period for data that was processed into the system on Thursday and Friday prior to the shutdown. So by Monday morning, things should be completely back to normal. With that said, that's sort of all the information I have to push to you now, and we'll go into our interactive mode now. We encourage you to either raise your hand if you want to verbalize your question or type a question in the Q&A box there. Let's see. Can you provide the new demo site link again? I missed catching on the previous slide. Certainly. We'll backtrack to it there. You can see it. And we will circulate this slide deck to all the participants in this meeting, so you'll get it in writing as well. I think the key thing to note there is that we've essentially inserted a non-prod subdomain into the previously used URLs. While folks are teeing up on that, I'll just insert the side commentary that our business operations team is formulating more specific messaging, plans and messaging around the extract files and roster files and advice to customer business operations folks about what to expect in terms of what to do on the Friday prior to the outage and what to expect after the platform comes back up. There is, in fact, another meeting going on amongst those team members right now to dot all the I's, cross the T's on our actual cutover plan and communications to clients about it. Okay, folks, we're not quite half through our allotted time, but it seems as though through the mastery of our communication and attention to detail, perhaps a little after the fact, we've imparted the news and information you're looking for. I think we'll wrap up here. I need to skedaddle off to that other meeting with the migration team. We will circulate the deck, and you'll all get those URLs in writing. We also encourage you to please do not hesitate to reach out to your account manager or your client implementation manager here to discuss with them any questions you might have. Another question. Is there a technical contact person for the questions? Your account manager is essentially your specific contact person, and they are escalating. We've got those folks integrated into our migration project team Slack channel, and they are not hesitating to forward their customers' questions in real time to us. So we are doing our best to traffic that information back and forth as quickly as possible. If you're actively engaged on a implementation with one of our technical implementation folks, you can certainly interact with them as well. But we do not have a single point of contact for this project technically. We want you to work through those channels you're currently working through. Well, if there's no further questions, we're going to bid you adieu for the day, and thank you for your cooperation and forbearance while we go through this very important migration. Appreciate your collaboration with us. And with that, I guess we'll close down now. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day.